All right, we are live. Rabbi Akiva, it's so good to see you, and welcome back
Wow.
to the Schmooze, discussing innovation in the Jewish world and the pro-Israel community. It's so good to be back with all of you. Tonight's episode of the Schmooze is generously sponsored by Mechinat Ruach HaNegev, an innovative new gap year program starting this year. We're so excited to welcome the founders, the executive team, onto tonight's show, where we can really discuss the ideas of what makes them different, how they're changing the idea of what gap year provides. And I'm so excited to be back here with all of you and with you, Rabbi Akiva.
I did not realize you had pressed record, even though you said I'm pressing record now. Good to be here. I do not know if you read the news, but
I dabble.
You dabble. I'll tell you this. I'm sure everyone's already heard about this. Did you see that a woman in Australia won a lottery for $150,000? Okay. Which is like, now I remember we spoke about this recently, that how I won the lottery a few years ago. That was a big moment in my life. I would say life-changing, the $25 that I won. I mean, it was pretty remarkable. She won $150,000, which is a similar number, but she didn't realize that she had won because they kept sending her emails like, "You've won the lottery," and she thought it was spam. Like, do you get these phone calls?
No, it's good pick, and I'm all about this. But when you said, "I don't know if you read the news,"
I know it was a setup. You were being set up.
Oh, is that what that was? Okay, that's not news. I want you to know that.
Oh, it's news to me. You didn't know that. I didn't know that. Now we know
what quality journalism is.
I feel like, honestly, I know that story is true because I have no reason to believe it's fake or biased. And if I read mainstream media, not so sure. So I'm going to go with Australian woman wins 150K, then thinks it's spam. And I just thought it was pretty funny because I get all these spam calls all day long. I mean, now they do this new thing. I get these text messages. It's like, "Oh, hey, I thought of this for you. It's perfect." And it's grammatically correct, which really throws me off. The first one I almost clicked. I really almost did.
Right, grammatically correct throws you off.
Yeah. I mean, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. Also, I still need to go back to this. You're like reading Australian local lifestyle news that's like page 20 below the fold.
I watched a Shark Tank the other day because I was discussing with a friend, and I Googled it while I was holding my baby trying to put her to sleep, and I was watching a Shark Tank, and then the Australian Shark Tank popped up, and maybe that's why Google thought I wanted to know about Australian news. Anyways,
okay.
150K. Point is, sometimes spams are real, mainly not.
I don't think that's
one time I got a phone call that said, probably scam or whatever. Probably, spam likely. So I did. So I was like in front of some teens. I was in the program, like, let's answer and mess around. And they're like, "We're calling from your bank." I'm like, "Sure you are, yeah." And I start messing around and saying the crazy things. Of course, that one time it really was my bank.
Wow. Okay, that's a good story, Rabbi.
Yeah, I didn't win the lottery that time.
No, I don't think you've ever won the lottery.
I actually have. I don't know.
Time on the show has taught us anything. I'll give you an example of real news. This week, the top. You're not talking to anyone. Like, that's not like all your friends. But this week, a top military Iranian official was and is that supportive? Okay. So the top nuclear scientist for Iran's nuclear weapons program, or as we are led to believe, was assassinated this week. That is real news.
Yes, that also happened.
Yes, that also happened on top of this woman winning the lottery in Australia. But this is particularly, I'm not happy. I mean, I don't know how to feel about.
I think we're supposed to not rejoice over our enemies' deaths. Although.
I don't know.
That's debatable.
We should actually get into that another schmooze because that happens a lot these days. But this person was completely dedicated to the annihilation of Israel. And
I'm not for that.
And I would venture to say America as well, as the Iranian regime has put out so many times that they believe that America, all the infidels, should be wiped off the face of the map. I think it was the previous president of Iran said he would even be willing to, this is Ahmadinejad, he would be willing to sacrifice 40% of all Iranians to accomplish the goal of what I don't know how he really achieved that number, but it's like crazy.
Very careful calculation.
Or not 41%, but all eyes right now are on Israel, and and Israel will never confirm nor deny their involvement in such a ludicrous. Like, mind you, he wasn't pushed off of a cliff. He was by a remote controlled rifle. He was on his way with his wife on vacation.
Like a drone?
It was like a stationary rifle that was controlled, from what I gather from news reports, that was satellite controlled. If it was Israel, you really got to give it credit to the Israelis, because like this is straight out of a movie. Like James Bond also has a similar
right. So I put this pen 3 times, and the rifle.
Exactly. Interestingly enough, Prime Minister Netanyahu was at the beach while this was happening. So it really that is news. I just want to give you an idea of what journalism really looks like.
That's very interesting. And I heard that his wife, not a scratch on her.
Unscathed. From reports. I'm not in Iran. I can't speak to.
I could have sworn with the flags in your background you were. I do think that's incredible about what Israel's what it says about Israel and their value of life. What's that?
Allegedly Israel.
Allegedly. Whew.
Right. Important.
Maybe watching the show. We don't want to get a phone call.
I really do believe it. It goes both ways, because I really do believe there's a guy in the Mossad whose job is just like, what movie plots make sense? Like, can we work with it? And then, like, sure enough, anytime something happens in like the anti-Israel world, like top terrorists, like shark found in the lake of some terrorist's house or something, like they blame Israel. So I'm like,
right.
There's a guy in the Mossad who's just like, that's a good one. Like,
let's save that one for a rainy day.
But it really is tremendous. You can always, whether it's true or not, the amount of innovation going on in the news about how to kill people who hate us is really.
I just hope. I mean, we're certainly not rejoicing at the death of anyone. With Judaism, we don't pray for anyone to die. We pray for people to see the error in their ways. And I hope that this is the last death that we'll ever need on any side of any conflict, and we can all just live in peace and harmony. I know that's sounds like lyrics to some cliche song, but
I'm pretty sure it was from a banner at Woodstock. But
you know what? If they came up with it, fine. As long as we just do it.
Okay, you're peace-loving.
I'm from Northern California. I'm peace-loving.
Is that a good excuse out there? Like, sorry, we can't blame where we're from.
Well, we live in a pretty awesome place, so read any of these, professional development books. We're really we're not off topic because we're just smoozing. But any of these professional development books, and I read a lot of them. So often, the research or the people being quoted are from California. And oftentimes, like you see Berkeley, Stanford, there's a lot.
Do you think that has anything to do with Silicon Valley?
Well, I think Silicon Valley is here for a reason. You know what I'm saying? Because of
it's like the Kedusha of California.
Mainly the Namans. I would credit it mostly.
Right,
People were going to move here eventually. They said we need to make Silicon Valley in a close proximity to the Namans.
Naturally. But on that note, Rabbi Akiva, talking about a place that also has a great deal of innovation and growth coming out of it, I really want to start segueing and talking. Segue is my favorite part of the show. Still not that one, but this it's just been on my mind all week since we started the conversation with the Ruach HaNegev team. This idea of gap year. So, how many conversations do you have a week about gap year?
In my head. All the time. I would say daily. With different students about gap year. Seriously.
Right. Absolutely. And I was trying to contrast because we're so deep in this. Go to yeshiva, go to seminary for the year. Learn about yourself. But this isn't a Jewish idea. Gap year is very much a secular. It's deeply ingrained in the secular higher education world. In fact, I remember it was like. Did you see this article? I know like the. It's gonna ring a bell in 2017 because it traveled our circles.
About the Australian lottery?
No, I don't reference lottery stories. This is a great rule of thumb.
Which article?
In 2017, it spread around our community like wildfire. President Obama's daughter, Molly Obama, announced that she was taking a gap year before attending Harvard University? No?
No.
Gosh. Okay. Well, it was covered by the Washington Post, and then the article went on to explain less about Mali Obama, but more about this idea that Harvard and prestigious institutions, professors approve and encourage students going on a gap year before attending a higher education at a 4-year or longer university term. So, and you're talking about Ivy Leagues. We're not talking about some university that no one's heard of in the Greater South, but rather, you're talking about this development that you get in your gap year. And right. And gap year is definitely a broad term in the secular world. I think in our world, it has a much more pointed definition. But, in the secular world, backpacking in Europe is a gap year program.
Right.
So I don't really encourage my students to go that route. But when we talk about, in our gap years, I would say I don't see so many innovations.
Okay. Are we doing today?
Do you agree with that assessment? I don't know. I think
I would say largely yes. Largely yes. That there is, and I'm because I don't want to badmouth any place. I've currently I think I have 14 students who are in yeshivas and seminaries in Israel and are having incredible times. But we're coming out of the COVID world. We're coming into 2021, right? Some places have been around for decades. It is definitely the right time. It is a time now to come up with a program there are hundreds, maybe even thousands of Jewish graduating seniors who need a certain type of program that doesn't exist for them right now. And I really think that Mechinat Ruach HaNegev, from just what I've seen online and I've schmoozed with them a little bit about, sorry for schmoozing on the side. I don't only schmooze with you, Daniel. Taken. They're creating something completely unique. And it's very much needed. It's been needed for like 5 years. And I'm so excited that it's happening now. Now, without further ado, let's welcome Executive Director of Ruach HaNegev, Eitan Zivan, and the Educational Director, Rabbi Tzvi Vogelanter. Welcome.
Welcome to the Schmooze.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Great to be here.
It is great to have you. Wow. All the way from Israel.
Yep. All the way from Israel. It's beautiful day out. We're doing good.
Incredible.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. As Rabbi Akiva and I focus on innovation in the Jewish world, we were really excited to learn about Mechinat Ruach HaNegev and all that you have to offer. I really just want to let's get into this. Why Mechinat Ruach HaNegev? Why do we need this? Aren't there enough yeshivas in the gap year world? Certainly during COVID times, I know when we speak with our students, there's so many options. What are we really adding here by adding another one to the list?
So, very important question, and I'll always start off by it's in the title. We are called Mechinat Ruach HaNegev. We are a mechina and not a yeshiva. What does that mean? What's a mechina? So the Hebrew word mechina comes from the word hachanat, to prepare. The idea is we are coming to prepare students to lead full Jewish lives, no matter where they're going to be in their coming years. Yeshiva also means literally sitting down. And we're very much experiential and active, getting out there, not just sitting down. We do have an element of sitting down, an element of a Beit Midrash, a study hall. But at the end of the day, it's much more active and much more holistic. We really want to prepare our students for everything that's going to be thrown at them and that they bring their Judaism to every aspect and element of their lives. And not just for it to be sitting literally in a study hall.
I love that. I'll tell you, for me, I'm thinking back to my 18-year-old self. I wish that had existed. There was no such thing. Then it was just yeshiva. You went and you sat in the title, right? But in your title, it says what it is. Mechina, it's preparing you. It's great. I know you guys are, where are you guys? We're in the Negev, right?
In Ritamim.
Okay, I'd love to hear more about that, but that's not the standard place. People are looking let's make a new program. Where are we the desert? What?
Yerushalayim. You're this close.
Very innovative.
On the map, it's this close.
Yeah, right.
and I love that. So like, what prompted you to think so out of the box? Why are you guys doing this in the Negev? What was the thought? What were some of the thoughts there?
Right. So I'll take this one. I think first of all, I think we started developing the idea before COVID, but I think that definitely during the times of COVID, I think that everyone, whether or not you're in the world of innovation, education, business, whatever it is, you have to realize that obviously God controls the world, and you have to start thinking a little bit out of the box. What was right before COVID isn't necessarily going to be right afterwards. And I think that regardless of COVID, that's a good lesson for all of us to take to life. Last week was David Ben Gurion's yahrzeit. It was his memorial. There was a lot of things going on in the news, and really, he's the one that inspired, in general, inspired the state of Israel. But he's the one 75, 80 years ago that was talking about the Negev, about this crazy big piece of land, desert, with like al panav, like if you're looking just like at it, it's like no potential. It's wasteland. We could, it's just on the map.
What percent is the Negev? It's like, isn't it like 40 or 50%? It's like a massive part of Israel, right?
It's massive. It's massive. And by living down here, you even realize how much, it goes even farther down. And but really what's here, if you drive around here, you'll realize that the dream has come true, and we're looking to be part of that dream. We're looking to, to continue bringing this piece of land to life. You're able to come down here. You're able to bring your dreams come true. There's a massive amount of potential, and people are really just looking to come down here, bring their ideas, and people give you a chance. You could really make things happen here.
Do you live in the Negev, Eitan? It sounds like you're saying come here. Is that where you live?
I live right here. The Mechinat campus is right behind me, actually, and we're super excited. The community is very excited. They heard that a group of amazing students are going to be coming. They're thrilled.
It happens to me. I think like Israelis enjoy it more than the Americans when new blood comes in, like they see a new culture, a different perspective. And Israel, it's like wherever I go in Israel, they're like, if you have students, bring them here. We'll host them. I'm like, I have a lot of students. Like they won't necessarily fit in your dining room. They're like, we'll do it outside. We'll have them. They're so excited. I think that's so exciting that the community is part of the fabric of what you're building at Ruach HaNegev. And also it's Rabbi Akiva and I discuss all the time. I think it was Shimon Peres who said, Shein klum efshar la'asot hakol. Where there's nothing, you can do everything. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing how that goes, building in the Negev, to see the vision of Ben Gurion and so many others after him. What on a more practical level for students who are interested or parents who are helping their children through this process, what does a week in Mechinat Ruach HaNegev look like? Why is it different? I know you guys are big innovators, so I imagine it's not the typical morning seder, afternoon seder, night seder. Rather, what is Ruach HaNegev all about?
All right, so I'll take this over. Tzvi, if you wanna chip in, you can definitely add your part. Our weekly schedule is broken down really into three main elements. And you could call it, if you want to, you could call it Seder Boker, Seder Tzarayim, Seder Erev, if you want to. But what we're doing is we're really including in one day's schedule what we believe is is what your life potentially and maybe ideally would look like. We have a Beit Midrash element where we're going to be spending a few hours in the Beit Midrash. Rav Tzvi can speak about what the topics and what we're going to be doing there. We have a few hours where we're actually going to be in the Beit Midrash learning in classes with in groups, individual learning, and then whether it be sometimes it'll be in the morning, some will be in the afternoon. But the next element after lunch is a service learning, community service element. We're also as a group, but also as an individual. We're going to be allowing our students to go out in the community and volunteer, give back, and sort of help build the community, each according to their own interest. We're going to have opportunities to volunteer with local farmers for kids who really want to get their hands involved and really be active. We have opportunities to tutor in English. We have opportunities to build a park. We have opportunities to work with the elderly, really according to what the students are interested in. So that's where what we believe is they're bringing their Judaism, they're bringing what they learned in the Beit Midrash to life through their activism. And then in the evening, we have sort of an element where it really sums everything up. Sometimes it will be a more formal learning session, right, back in the Beit Midrash. Sometimes it will be a meeting with a local Israeli Mechina. We'll get the two groups around a bonfire, teach them what s'mores are, and we'll talk about different topics that are interesting and relevant for both sides. What is it like to be a teenager? Where next year our group, the Mechina group, is probably looking towards university. The Israeli group is looking towards army. What does it mean for both 18-year-olds to discuss that? Both are Jewish, both are Zionist, but both next year are going to be doing different things. And sometimes we'll be meeting with a local politician or a local representative to talk about what's going on in the Negev, what's going on in Israel. Where really we believe, like I said, within one day and certainly within a week, we hope to help the student develop where he builds himself on a more spiritual, Torani type level. And the next level, he really is allowed to bring it to life. And then the evening is sort of what really sums it up, a time for reflection and preparation for the next day.
Well, I appreciate the vision, but even more so, I'm just sharing your schedule right now, and all of which is available on the Mechinat Ruach HaNegev website, which you can visit at ruachhanegev.org, and you can see it at the bottom of our screen. But just to see that you actually build it out into the schedule, it's no longer just an idea. It's not just philosophy, but everyone knows going in that they'll accomplish all these different facets. So tremendous.
Exactly.
I might even.
So you can see here
some of these outings.
You could just see here that the orange squares are the Beit Midrash sessions. The dark blue squares are the volunteer or community service squares. And like you said, our goal really is to make it part of the daily schedule, not just, if you're interested in volunteering, here we'll create an opportunity. Here it's part of the schedule. This is what you're getting into.
Well, fantastic.
And what's a university class? What's this over here? University classes. I don't know if you can see my mouse. On Thursday.
Yeah, university. We've created a partnership with the Ben Gurion University in Beersheba, where students of the Mechina will have an opportunity once or twice a week to go either, again, as individuals or as a group based on demand. They'll be able to go to the university, partake in classes that will be given in English on a wide variety of different topics. And at the end of the year, they'll be able to actually go back with official internationally accredited college credits.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
It's not a gap year anymore. It's just a year. It's a bridge year. It's an important year. It's just
it's life. It's life. It's life. That's what it is. Life. It's really just part of life.
Life. Come on, life. At Ruach HaNegev. Nope, got to work on that one. But we're here with Ruach HaNegev, an innovative, groundbreaking gap year. Or not gap year, in Israel, and really, just I love what you guys are doing. It's so great. I gotta tell you, preparing for this show today, I polled a couple dozen alumni and asked them the following question. I said, this is you guys are brand new, so you sometimes when you've been running something for 5, 10, 20 years, these countries have been running for decades, you're kind of like set in your ways. This is what we do. And that sometimes it does, but sometimes it really doesn't always match the needs of the 2020, 2021 graduating senior. So I polled a couple dozen alumni and I asked them, did your gap year properly prepare you for going back to the secular world? You're coming back to America. If you're going to YU, Stern, Touro, Landers, that's amazing. That's incredible. And then you can really keep almost that bubble that you created and the growth that you had in Israel, and you can bring it back there, and it's an easier way of doing that. But if you're going to WashU, you're going to Florida University, you're going to Queens, you're going to Maryland, wherever it is that you're going, that might be a little bit more difficult, right? Like, how do I deal with oh my gosh, I have 3 tests this upcoming Sukkot, and they don't care that it's Sukkot because I've never heard about that before. Or I have to, I totally forgot to buy grape juice, and now it's Friday night. What do I do? All of these questions that come up, quote unquote, in the real world, a lot of my alumni did not feel prepared. that they were, that there was an intentional, like, hey, you're in this bubble now in a gap year, but soon for the next 4 years and really the rest of your life, in a sense, again, God willing, you'll go to a community that has a strong shul and a strong community. But on college campus, it can be more difficult. How, if at all, do you feel like you're going to be different in preparing your students for their next 4 years on campus?
So, Rabbi Akiva, I'll take this one because you really hit the nail on the head here. I just spent the last 3 years as the OUGLAC educator along with my wife at Rutgers University. And this is very much at the forefront of my mind because I had that experience also with students. What we want to accomplish, the stress of is the live your Judaism, is that the Judaism that we're learning, the Torah that we're learning, the experience that we're having are all experiences and knowledge that are going to help prepare for life, for real life experiences. And that begins, one element is with going back to the basics. Starting in terms of the Torah that's being learned, we really want to go back to the fundamentals, and that throughout life you can constantly build on it. But not to have those gaps, to really have a strong understanding of the fundamentals of Jewish law, the fundamentals of Jewish history, and the fundamentals of Jewish living, so that you can implement those fundamentals and build on them wherever you are, even if that's even in places that are complicated for the Jewish type of life. In addition, we want to bring the experience of living your Judaism, and therefore all the experiences of connecting with the community, going out, the volunteering that's being had is learning out on the job, seeing what is it really like to live as a Jew, not just when I'm sitting in a bubble in a study hall and learning texts, but I'm out there. I'm in the field. I'm at the hospital. I'm at the office. I'm in Tel Aviv. I'm in an actual community. What does my Judaism look like? We're going to meet with people who are going to be discussing, who've had leadership roles, have been in complicated situations, how they dealt with their Judaism and have grown and have taken the Judaism with them and made them stronger, more meaningful people.
I'll tell you, 3 I's come to mind: incredible, inspiring, and innovative. This is what needs to be done. This is 2021, pre-COVID. If you're a graduating senior, you need to be watching this show and listening to what Rav Tzvi and Eitan are saying, because they're doing it right. They're doing something new and they're doing it right. Amazing.
Really, thank you, gentlemen, so much. It's always exciting. Really, what the Schmooze is all about is innovative ideas in the Jewish community, and you have absolutely hit the nail on the head. So thank you so much. We look forward to seeing your path and where it goes. We look forward to our students that can benefit from your program joining you and speaking with you. If you are interested in Mechinat Ruach HaNegev, please visit their website, ruachhanegev.org, and learn all that they have to offer. I know just from our Schmooze this afternoon, we learned about, well, afternoon depending on what time zone you're in right now, but certainly we learned about the innovation in geography with college credits, the yeshiva itself, the volunteer opportunity. Mechinat.
They don't just sit. They walk around. They get their hands dirty.
That's what it is. But really, so many opportunities for students, and we look forward to more innovation coming from Mechinat Ruach HaNegev. And thank you both so much for joining us today.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having us. I love the Schmooze. Love the Schmooze.
You guys are awesome. It's great to schmooze.
Great schmoozing with you. Take care.
You too. Take care.
Wow, Rabbi Akiva, I'm really there's a lot to process here, for sure.
Yeah.
Especially as before we were talking about kind of a lack of innovation, and not as a bad thing. Just so many gap year programs are tried and tested, have withstood the test of time, and have produced amazing results. But I'm so excited about this new Mechina, especially, the geography. I think being in a community with 100 families that care about the students, they want to welcome the students as part of their family. I'm very excited to see where this goes.
Me too. Honestly, and that community aspect, right? Like where they're just a part of the community. And when it's a community of 100 families, it's a good number. You know what I'm saying? You're going to come in with probably 30, 40, something along those lines, students into this Mechina for the first year. They're really going to be able to make an impact on the community, and the community is going to really be able to make an impact on them. It's just going to be a nice shidduch. Like, I'm excited for that part.
It happens to be, this isn't the first program to offer this. I know, I had friends in Ma'ale Adumim, and they had host families that really became their extended family. And whenever they're back in Israel, they go and visit, they stay there, they have meals.
Sure.
Their kids view them as like siblings, and I think Ruach HaNegev, aside from establishing themselves in a place that most people don't travel, like I don't think we actually ever define the word Negev. Negev is the desert. It's definitely not the most exciting place happening in Israel, but it also allows for Mechinat Ruach HaNegev to establish their own culture. They can create the most appropriate and growth-oriented environment for their students.
And I think I'm thinking about the seniors that I know and the seniors around the country that I just know from random NCSY and other events. The people who are who should be going on this program, I think honestly a lot of different types of teens, a lot of different types of graduate. If you're a graduating senior that's listening to this, I think if you're interested in approaching Judaism from that, they were talking about like the holistic approach of just like full integration, living Judaism. If that's something you could see yourself doing, if you could see yourself really connecting to Israel in an authentic way, and in a new way, you're in the Negev. It's almost like disconnecting to connect, right? That's a line I say before Shabbat. I say, put your phone away, disconnect from the world at large to connect to the world around you. It really enhances and embellishes everything that a gap year is supposed to be about. Right? It's supposed to be about learning about yourself, connecting to Judaism, connecting to amazing role models. When you can really do that, when you can do that in the Negev, I think it just gets done a million times more. This isn't a place where it's like, like I don't want to go, I can't sit and learn all day long, so I'll go to Ruach HaNegev. Like, no, Ruach HaNegev's whole educational philosophy is like, this is how a gap year should look. This is what it's supposed to look like, where you learn, and then you go to the kitchen and find and practice those halachas, all right? Or where you hear about Israel history, and then you go to the Knesset and actually sit and talk about it and discuss and see with your eyes. It's tying that experiential education into the theoretical and the textual education.
Right. I'm actually, and I know we're coming towards the end of our show, as is a very sad part of the week for me every week, but I think even more so when we talk about innovation, they really went through and discussed how all of their innovations will impact their students. So being in the Negev and something we discussed as a sidebar with them, maybe we'll bring them back another week. But not being in town, not being in Yerushalayim is a significant strain on the social pressures of students in Israel. Everywhere, regardless of where you are, I remember my friends in Shalavim, wherever they were, Ramat Beit Shemesh, some of them in far off areas, it was always a question, how am I getting to Yerushalayim Thursday night? How am I going to see my friends? So to their credit, to Ruach HaNegev's, like their forethought here, to be able to say, we are establishing a way for our students to get to Yerushalayim. We're creating other ways for them to socialize with people their own age, that they should never feel like they're missing out. And even more so, they should feel like they're gaining. Like, we're providing new experiences. They're going to be able to have opportunity to get college credit in their gap year. That was unheard of. Like, you could either go to Bar Ilan and be fully immersed in the college environment, or you could learn in yeshiva. I remember when I was looking, there was no middle ground.
They're bringing it together,
right? And
middle grounds in the Negev.
Middle grounds in the Negev. So I think this week when we talk about innovation in the Jewish world, we absolutely got a winner. And I can't wait to see how their success comes. And God willing, we should all have many students that benefit from the right students, from the right program. And we'll see a lot of fruits from this particular.
I mean, I love fruit. So we had talked about last time, if you could only save your pet or a random 90-year-old person. Do you remember this question?
Yeah, I hated this question.
Okay. This question came up because of an actual conversation that I had with a teen in Northern California.
I'm not like belittling. I just can't believe these are conversations we're having.
These are real conversations that I've had with over 100 different teens. Okay, I would say about 30% of the teens said that they would save their pet before they would save the person.
Wow. I don't know. I don't have an anecdote for this. I think it's also I grew up with pets.
Like, the schmoozer.
But I grew up with pets. Like, I understand. They become a part of your family. I'm not belittling that. You should love your pet. We have halachos that say that you should treat animals well. We're all about that.
Before you feed yourself.
Right. And then it just like there are levels. There is the value of human life. I don't know. That's why I like this question, because it gives people the opportunity to give the wrong answer.
Well, I wonder if they were really in that position, if you were really in that position, would you save the pet? But I think that I personally, for those watching, I think that it's a no-brainer, and you should save the person over the pet. As close as you are with the pet, I think that it's pointing to a serious flaw in the way in our thinking ethically in the world now, today, 2020. There seems to be something broken if we're saving pets over human life. That's what I think. Unapologetically think. Feel free to discuss this with your families. For anyone watching, here is the question for next week, which I've also asked many people, and I've gotten some interesting answers. You're walking along, and who do you see but Jeff Bezos, the owner of Amazon, and where I get many of my jokes from last episode, Schmooze, from? And you see him drop $1. Do you have to go? I'll rephrase it. You see him drop $1. Do you go pick up the $1 and return it to him? That's the question. Do you return the $1 to Jeff Bezos?
Is the question because he's so wealthy, he's not going to notice it? Like that you have to go through this in your head? Like
no.
Does it matter that it's Jeff Bezos?
Yes. The question is, it's Jeff Bezos. I'll tell you why it matters. Because a lot of people don't like Jeff Bezos. And
so about likability?
Well, don't ruin it, man. This is for next week's Schmooze when we schmooze about it.
I have to think about it.
Don't listen to him. Don't listen to him. Listen to the question. You see Jeff, he drops $1, drops $100. I don't care. He drops a bill. Do you have to go and return it to him? That is the question. It has been great schmoozing with you. Make sure to like us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube. Thank you to our 130 subscriptions already, which is fantastic.
And climbing.
It's been great schmoozing with you.
Oh, Rabbi, before we leave, thank you so much to Mechinat Ruach HaNegev for their sponsorship of our program. It is so great to have partners like them in the community, always building and thinking about the future. And look out for next week's episode with special guest. It'll be announced in just a couple days, but get excited. This is one you're not going to want to miss. And with that, it's been
great schmoozing.